Taskmaster, welcome to my channel, and today we are doing programming. And in programming, today we are going to do another concept which is called iteration or loops. So in Python, there are two kinds of loops, for loop and while loop. But usually nowadays, for loop is more in use, but it is important to know both. So first we will do the for loop, and then we will go on to the while loop. So for loop, a simple for loop will look like this. We for I in range 0 is to 6, and when you put colon and enter, it automatically gives the tab space. So the syntax for a for loop is for then the variable in, and then you give a range. Now a range can be anything, like it can be any set of values, it can be integers, it can be a string, it can be anything. So here we have first used this function in Python called range. So what a range does is it has in total three arguments that are put in it. The range has three arguments, A, B and C. These are what are the names we are going to give it. So A is the starting point of the range that we're giving. B is the end point of the range, and C. Now C determines that how many by what value does this variable increase. In this case, the variable I. The variable can be anything. It can be A, it can be Z, it can even be any word that you've given, like anything like bot, or if you have any specific name of a variable in a certain program, then it can be given any name. It's a normal variable. So what's this variable C, this third variable does is that it determines that what value will be added to this variable in every iteration of the loop. So the default value of this is 1, and the default value of A, the first variable, is 0. So sometimes you don't want the range to start at 0 but at another number. It can be negative or it can be positive. But even so, if instead of writing 0 comma 6, I just write 6. When I just write one number, it means that I'm assigning a value to this second variable, the end limit. So now here I'm going to print the variable to show what the variable contains in each iteration of the loop. Now when we run this, we see it starts from 0, because see, the default value of A, the first variable, is always 0. If you don't specify, the range will always start from 0. And since C is also default is 1, every loop, this I increases by 1, and it keeps running till it stays in the range. Now it's important to note that in the range, the starting number is included. However, the last number that you are specifying, the border of the range, the upper border of the range, is not included. For example, here we've said we've done from written as 6 until here, it only shows till 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. It doesn't show 6 because as soon as it becomes 6, the loop stops. In other words, you can say that this variable has to be less than whatever number higher limit you're giving in the range. So now, if I have to give this third variable, I also have to specify the first one, because if I just write two variables, for example, I want this to be 2. I want it to add 2 every time the loop runs. But if I just do it like this, Python will think that this is the 6 is the starting of the range and 2 is the end of the range. We don't want that. So in this case, we have to give the starting of the range 2. So it is 0, but you can give anything. You can even give in negative numbers. So 0 to 6, this means that every time starting from 0, 2 will be added to the variable I. When we run it, you will see that it only gives 0, 2 and 4 because it was adding 2 to each of the variables. Now here there is something interesting. You can even do in reverse. So if for example here instead of this I write uh, 10 comma 0 comma minus 1. Minus 1 means that you're going in reverse. So this means that 10 is the starting value of I, and it's you're adding minus 1 to it every time. So if you're adding minus 1, that means it's going one lower, and you will see that it gives me from 10 to 1. Now if you might be wondering why it's not giving 0, it's not giving 0 because 0 is the end of our range, and as I said that it doesn't give the end of the range. It is the last number that the higher, in this case the lower boundary of the range is not included in the for loop. So if you want to include 0 in here, you will have to give one lesser than that, or if you're going in ascending order, that is if the smaller number is first, then you will get to go one higher. So when we run this, we will see that now it also includes 0 because when we give minus 1 as the end boundary. So this is a basic for loop. Now we can also do a little we can also put for loops inside for loops, and I'm going to show that to you in just a minute. Okay, so here we have given a for loop inside a for loop where I have given the tables from 1 to 10 of each number from 1 to 10. So you see the table of 1, the table of 2, of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So here what it has done is first it runs the first loop, first iteration of the first loop, then it goes into the second loop. Here it goes through 1 to 10 for 1 here. So when this is complete, it comes back here. Here it becomes 2. Now for 2, this loop runs again. As you can see here, first it runs for 1 10 times, then it runs for uh, 2 10 times, same for 3, 4, 5, 6 up till 10. So this is a very basic representation, but you can also do this with symbols. And if you've noticed that here I have changed the sep value to just to nothing, an empty quotes, because by default, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, that when a comma is added in a print statement, it takes that as a space by default. So if I had not put this sep, all this would have been spaced. So there would have been space after, for example, here there would have been a space after 10, then a space after x, and then a space even after the equal to, and then 100 would have been written. So this is a good example, a very simple but good example of how the sep uh, variables can be used whenever required. So this was the very basics of a for loop. Now the way I've done this here, you can also do this with symbols. You can make several patterns because you can have two loops where one loop decides the number of times the second loop will run, and the second loop prints symbols in the same line and then gives a next line at the end. That is also something, you can make many designs with this. If you search on the internet just using iteration, there is a lot of things you can do using symbols. So now we will go on to the while loop. So while loops or like for loop has everything, but while it's just based on true and false. It's just a boolean statement which if returns true the loop will keep running. So the syntax of a while loop is that while, for example, first I'm assigning a value, a variable a to 10, and then I assign a variable b equal to 1. So I can write that while b is lesser than a or lesser than equal to a, it will keep running this statement hello, for example. So when I run this, so you can see it has printed hello from for infinite time because I have not done anything, because b is equal to 1. So right now as we speak, this loop is still running. So this is when an error occurs in your logic, and the loop keeps running till infinity, or unless uh, it reaches a point where it cannot compute any further, because we have not changed the value of b, and till we don't do anything to b, the statement b is lesser than greater to a will remain true, and the while statement will keep running till infinity. So what we do is we add we write b plus equals to 1. Now this means that the value of b will keep increasing in every while loop. This is just like a simpler way of representing what happens in a for loop. A while loop is the pretty much the same as a for loop, but here you have to change the value of the variable on your own. So now as we speak, it's still running. You can see that if I scroll down, it is saying that your console is printing so much that it's interfering with other users. So means it ran for so much time that it had to be closed. It had to be closed on like by the server itself, because I was printing so much that it was interfering with everybody else on the Python anyway server. Because this all of this is happening online. It when our code goes to a server where this executes and then shows us the output here. So it was I was printing so much that is technically infinity that it ultimately has had to close my console. Now I'm going to run this again, and you will see that it will since the console was closed, now I'll have to restart the console, and then it gives us our output. So first it gave me what I had written first, then it gives me hello 10 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 10 times, because as soon as the loop went to the 11th time, the value of b was already 11. So 11 is not lesser than or equal to a, the value of which is 10. So when it reaches 11, the this statement returns false. So the it stops running. Here instead, if I had written true, just had written true, even then this will run till infinity. As you can see, it keeps going down. It's keep printing hello for me. And again, since it was printing so much, the Python Anywhere itself closed my console. So because this is true, I've already given the boolean value true here, so that will not change unless in the end I write false. So that is what the while loop is. It mainly works on boolean values. So these were the two kinds of loops in Python, and even these, like the other concepts, have a vast use. You can use this anywhere. For example, if you have to print something again and again, you can use this. If you have to um, access something, if you have to give index numbers, if you have to input a specific number of times, you can, the possibilities are endless. So this was the end of my explanation on loops and iteration. I hope you like this video. Please share and subscribe. I also have other videos of gaming and cooking. So keep programming, stay creative. This is the Taskmaster signing off. Goodbye.